Hey, school bus here, rolling out of Redshire in the EBR 75. And this is actually my second ace tanker in this particular vehicle, and I think this is actually a much better video than the previous one that I'd done, which is kind of a shame because that's the one that 4Tankers has up on his site, so you can... Now, you probably actually have already checked that out. Who am I kidding? I have 89 subscribers. He has like 12,000. So, odds are you've seen his and you haven't necessarily seen mine. But I like this video because it showcases much better some of the various aspects and capabilities of this tank. First off, we made what would have been a suicidal run in a slower light tank there, and I don't know that anybody really even took a serious shot at us. So that was kind of cool. We got some early vision. And it's because of being able to do maneuvers like that that this thing had to have a nerfed view range. I think this is going to be one of those tanks that when people seek out a particular vehicle based on statistics alone and they don't really do their homework, they may not necessarily identify the strengths of it. That being said, to make use of this tank, you do have to have a pretty solid understanding of the mechanics of the game. And I'm not saying that I'm a genius, I'm just pointing out the fact that I've had 15,000 games, so I've seen some things. But that being said, it also requires a lot of driving skill that if you have experience previously with various driving games, particularly of the arcade nature, this will help. It is by no means a simulation. There's a lot to be desired in the dynamics and realism of how the driving goes. But all of that aside, this is a very capable vehicle when it comes to its mobility. And as far as this match goes and the gameplay, it's very typical. We have the heavies are doing their brawling in the east. We've got a few medium tanks working the west. And then we've got interesting stuff happening in the middle. Now here is a textbook EBR 75 dash in, attack, and run technique. That medium tank could not track me as I came through there. I'm not saying that the Centurion is the fastest of mediums from a traversing standpoint, but it's no slouch. And then I debate coming in and making another pass on him, but I decide, nah, probably not a wise idea. And I don't even know if I would have been able to finish him off. So you only have 2 shots, and you're only looking at doing in the neighborhood of 350 damage nominally. So at least that's the number I always have in my head. I can't remember exactly what it is. But it still is rather capable because after you fired those 2 shells, 10 seconds later, you have 2 more ready to go. So it isn't... It is not quite like the ELC even 90 where you have this long reload time that you might as well leave the engagement for 30 seconds. That's a big difference, 30 seconds versus 10. And I prefer this playstyle a lot more. What I'm trying to do here is just keep using my speed to show up in places that maybe the enemy doesn't expect. Now watch there, I do the charge boost, that gives me my super speed, and then I can zoom around and I come out just a little bit short, but then I have help to finish him off. But jumping up hills with this thing, using the space bar, hold down the forward key, and then launching it, really does help. I thought about going for the ram there, but realized he was going to be way heavier and he was going to do far more damage to me than I to him. And that'll be important later on in this game. See what happens. We need every hit point we can get. So we break away, reload, and then come back in. I surprisingly missed that first shot, but then the second one goes in. And I don't think I've mentioned in this video how amazing the dynamic accuracy is. Oh, yeah, there. I don't know. I must have been drinking or something. I just ran right into a wall. But then I charge it up and dash away. Dash away, dash away all. The accuracy when you're moving is fantastic. It actually is the same base accuracy, the dispersion's 0.36, as the ELC even 90. But on the move, they don't even feel anything similar to one another. It is just amazing how accurate this tank is on the move. I don't have one, but the Tier 10 Soviet LT-100 is similar, I believe, in its gun handling statistics, the soft stats, that it does remarkably well when you're moving and you're in those dynamic situations of movement of the turret, movement of the hull, and just dashing around the battlefield. So we get ourselves a kill, go for the reload. Wish I had a statistic during the game of keeping track of how much time you spent off the ground. They do it in a lot of other arcade games. You get like kudos bonuses and some of the driving games for longest jump and that sort of thing. Well, they should track that in here, because I think it would be interesting with this tank. So I'm thinking about going over into the trees to start finding where these guys are camping. And I'm glad I didn't commit to it any more than I did, because I would have been dead. So I loop back and I decide to keep working the hill for a little bit longer. I did manage to get one light there, and I have plenty of allies here with guns. So this is bold. I should have done another one of my spacebar, rev it up and jam it into gear to try and jump out behind this guy, but I didn't. I was a little slow. He gets a shell into me. So now we're sitting here with 7 hit points and enough game left that I'm a little worried about losing these hit points. But now I see he's distracted, so I go for it again. And I think right here I'm going to die, but then he changes his mind. He doesn't shoot at me, and he engages a much, much higher hit point target. I think he also doesn't expect me to be a lethal problem. But actually, with the help of artillery, I do become a lethal problem. And now, just left down to the arty, I hesitate on my reload. And watch here in a moment. If I hadn't hesitated on that, I'd be ready right about now. Boom, boom. Would have done more damage. I didn't. I hit a rock. I decide to back up for some unknown reason. I tag my teammate, and then he kills me. I apologize to him after this. So there it is, another ace tanker. Apparently when they loaded in the statistics of how much experience was required with this tank, they must have had it a little bit low, if the school bus is knocking these down this easy. But solid game, much, much more characteristic of what this tank is capable of compared to the previous one where all I was doing was lighting things. So, hope you enjoyed this. If you did, give the video a like, and if you're enjoying the channel, please subscribe. I definitely give a shout out to 4Tankers for featuring me on his channel. That has definitely helped out my subscribership. Thanks and have a great day.